Sarah, how are
Hey
you?
Jake, how you doing?
So excited for this session. I was excited yesterday when we had
I
our
know.
breakout group on it. So I can't wait
Same.
to dig into it. So why don't you introduce it and I'll get the PowerPoint all set.
Great. Sure. Yeah. So sustainability is a really hot topic for good reason. It's good for companies. It's good for communities. It's good for the environment. But we're going to talk today about what that all actually means and what the definition of sustainability really is. So to start, we have a poll question in the comments section. So the question is, does your company have a sustainable strategy in place? So if you could just take a few minutes to respond to that. And we just wanted to let you know there's a lot of information here. So we will make this presentation available for download after the session. So it's for you to take home. And also make sure to post your questions for us in the chat. So Jake, why don't we get started? Sounds good?
Nice. Yeah, I again really I encourage all of you to download this PDF because what we're going to share today is not as in depth as the one that I created for you to take home. That's got a lot more meat in it, and it'll really be great to bring back to your companies to maybe put some of these ideas into play. So without further
Perfect.
ado, let's dig right in and let's define what sustainability is. And I love that they started out this chat with a session that we called Green is Good, because you know what? It's a lot more than just thinking about the environment. The definition that the UN puts on it is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet theirs. It's really thinking about the future and making sure that you're setting it up for the best possible scenario. And this means that it's not just environmental, it's got three pillars. They're social and economic as well. And it's really been coined by John Elkington back in 1994. John Elkington is from the UK and he's the world authority on corporate responsibility, called it the triple bottom line: planet, people, profit. Let's get in a little bit more about that. Sarah, what do you talk to us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I think, we hear the word sustainability, a lot of people think it's just eco and environmentally friendly. And that's just one part of the sustainability stool, if you will. There are actually three parts of that. So I'm a sustainable business. I sell products made of recycled water bottles, whatever. And that's great. And that's a really great starter. I use all LED lighting in my office, and that's really good as well. But it's so much more than that. And so major corporations have really committed to sustainability. Now it's trickling down to companies of all sizes. So we're also looking at the other two pillars today, which are the social pillar. A company should treat its workforce fairly, focus on diverse procurement of goods, and be a good community member. Leave the community better than when you found it, right? Economically, it should be governed properly, and they should practice good risk management. And what does that look like? It includes things like transparent accounting practices, avoiding conflicts of interest with board members and executives, and of course, never engaging in illegal practices, and always making sure, again, that employees are being treated in a fair and equitable manner.
I really want to say this, and I'll say it early, and I'll probably say it again. To keep this as simple as possible, this is the practice of doing the right thing. It's doing something that is good, not just for the environment, but for the people that are around you. And if you start to let your mind think about what is the right thing to do in situations, it really helps to build on this. So let's talk about why corporations are focusing on this in a big way. A truly sustainable business is really more than just this good steward to the environment. They also think about their communities, the neighborhoods that are around them, and how they govern themselves, as Sarah was just talking about. Some facts to throw at you, and we're going to throw numbers because I think they're important. 62% of leaders believe that one of their priorities to link positive contributions to society and to not without seeking profit, which is huge. They're putting positivity first to the world around them. More than 90% of CXOs say that companies have a sustainable initiative in place or on the drawing board. And according to a 2018 survey of business leaders in charge of sustainability, the respondents identified ethics and integrity as the number one reasons for pursuing sustainability in business. And that's such a big deal. It starts to go where people's heads are going. And this is not foreign from our business, too, and from the promo industry. Sarah, why don't you dig in a little bit more? Why does this matter to businesses of all sizes?
Right. So it's not just for the major corporations, it's for every single business. So not only is the company doing good for the planet and the community they're in, they're running their business in an intentional way. And increasingly, customers are expecting to work with sustainable businesses, right? That is why this is so important. Almost 70% of consumers think it's important that a brand is sustainable for what we're talking about. That's from IBM and the National Retail Federation. Cone Communications found that 87% of consumers will make a purchase because a company advocated for an issue they care about. That's a huge number. That's like close to 90%, almost 9 out of 10 consumers. That's huge. And also 76% of consumers will actually refuse to do business with a company that supports a cause not in line with their beliefs. So people are they're consuming, they're purchasing in line with their values. So it's not only good for your business in a governance way, but it's also great for your own sustainability as a company and where your sales are going to come from.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. And people are thinking about that. A large group of those people are now starting to gain power too. And I want to say this, and I put it right into the headline. Take notice of Generation Z. And just to remind you, those are the people who were born between 1997 and 2012. Within the next 10 years, they're going to make up a quarter of the workforce. If they're not buying from you yet, they soon will be. And this generation, they expect the companies that they buy from to operate in sustainable ways. Research is saying that 54% of these young adults think that a company's environmental and social efforts are very or extremely important when considering whether to make a purchase or use a service or a product. That's huge. And that's only growing right now. 73% of them are actually willing to pay more. They want to get something from a company that practices a lifestyle, a way that they do. And it relates to them. And it's growing everywhere we see. It's something that we really can't ignore. And what's interesting to see, and we're going to talk about some case studies next, is that the promotional products industry, if you think about this, so the sustainable practices, what they're like today, their importance today to the promo industry is kind of where product safety was 10 years ago. And product safety crept up on us, and we had to deal with it. And we're talking about this now. Sustainability should be on everyone's minds because it's growing and it's so important, and it's the right thing to be thinking about. So let's move into our case studies.
And just as a reminder, if anybody has questions for us, please put them in the chat. I do see some questions about sources. That's all in the downloadable version. We will make sure that you have those links to this data. So I just wanted to jump into a case study from our industry, Gildan. They're up in Montreal. They just released their 17th environmental, social, and governance report. So they are really ahead of the curve here. Some of the findings from this past one in 2021, that some of their statistics for the environmental aspect of this, 33% of their total energy came from renewable resources in 2020 last year, while 88% of their total waste was recycled or repurposed. 88%, that's huge. $1.3 million was donated to community projects in regions where it operates in the Americas. They also donated 350,000 masks and 150,000 articles of clothing to storm-struck communities, and they helped displaced employees find shelter during the hurricanes last fall. Eta and Iota, they really hit Central America very hard. And so Gildan was on the ground making sure that their people had what they needed. And also 53% of employees at Gildan, they were covered under a collective bargaining agreement, and health and safety committees represented almost 100% of employees, 97%. So they're really also looking out for that governance aspect of sustainability and making sure that their employees are being protected.
We also heard, Sarah, and this came from you to me, that the Wall Street Journal named them in the top 100 most sustainably managed companies, and Dow Jones has placed them on the sustainable index for the 8th consecutive year. So we're very proud to see that. I think it should make everyone happy to see what big players in our industry are doing. So let's move into another case study. This is what Hanes has done. In the last years, they've released a sustainably focused documentary. And basically they followed 3 university students who studied and reported on the company's sustainable supply chain and produced a short documentary on this. They've also gone into supporting their global base with a lot of health, wellness, and education, diversity, and inclusion initiatives. They have a goal that they want to improve at least 10 million lives by 2030, which is really fantastic. They're committed to meeting a bunch of environmental targets by 2022. There's greenhouse gas reductions, energy reductions, but they want to achieve 100% renewable electricity in their facilities by 2030. Awesome. And 100% sustainable cotton and 100% recycled polyester across all products by 2025. These are huge numbers and big moves from a big company. So let's look at another one.
Yeah, so shout out to Kathy Chang. She was on our Power 50. If you saw the reveal yesterday, Kathy, she's head of Redwood Classics Apparel in Toronto. It's a supplier of ours. They've been sustainability minded from the very beginning since 2009. I'm in the 20s now. 2009. So, 12 years. This year they released their first impact report, which is huge for a smaller supplier. This is a big deal. And this is where the trend is going. It summarized their commitment to diversity and inclusion among its garment makers, also reducing its environmental footprint and sourcing ethically and locally made textiles. All Made is another example. They're a garment company in our industry. They provide sustainability solutions, and each of their shirts keeps 6 plastic bottles from ending up in landfills. They use less water. The textile industry tends to be a wasteful industry traditionally, and so a lot of people are working at that to make sure that that waste is reduced or eliminated. And they also keep their carbon footprint to a minimum. So Redwood Classics and All Made are definitely at the front lines of doing away with the fast fashion that's been so in vogue, where something is made cheaply, it's bought cheaply, it's worn a couple times and then thrown away because it's so trendy. And that's leading to, there was a report that actually Michelle Bell sent me the other day from CBS about how these clothes that the Western countries normally they wear and then they shed them and they end up getting into the oceans and building these huge beach cliffs of rotting clothes in these poor countries, and it's really a mess for them to have to clean up. So it's both of these, again, both Redwood and All Made are at the front lines of really looking at that fast fashion trend and how it's really impacting sustainability in the long term.
Speaking of fashion and trends, I was reading yesterday, Vogue just was talking about Stella McCartney, and Stella McCartney's been growing leather out of mycelium, mushrooms. Again, growing leather out of mushrooms to work with, which I think is fantastic. Let me not get off pace here, though, because we have to move into what I think is quite interesting, are B companies. So certified B corporations, and I want to define it a little bit. They're companies that balance purpose and profit and are put through absolutely the most rigorous certification process, which looks across the entire company to verify all of its sustainability practices. A lot of big brands have been through this certification. We mentioned a few here. You can see Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia. But we have a few companies in our industry that have actually already gone through this as well, and we wanted to call them out. Harper & Scott in New York City, McCabe Promotional Advertising up in Ontario, and Image Outfitters, a small company in Stowe, Vermont, that is doing something really interesting. And this is a great idea. What they're doing is they are committed to give back through their iShare program. Basically, their customers, when they purchase from them, they get to choose a charity or cause of their choice, and then proceeds from each of those sales, Image Outfitters donates to those customers' choice. I think it's fantastic. I think that's showing how you can do something small, but that means meaningful, and it's going to go a long way. Remember, Generation Z is coming, and they're going to want to see this. So, Sarah, you know what? I actually got our results from our poll. Should we share some of those?
Go ahead.
All right. So right now, you guys have been saying to us, we asked you how many of you have a sustainability plan in place, or you're getting to there or working on it. Well, so far, 53% of you do not have a sustainability plan in place. 33% of you said yes, which is great. You have something in place. And 13% of you said you're working on it. So I think that's awesome. I'd love to see by the next time we talk about sustainability that those numbers shift and it's more like a 50 yes, 50 no. So that would be really cool to see. So what I think the most important part of this is, how do we take action now as companies? And so Sarah and I are going to dig into not all of these ideas. We're going to we're going to talk about 4 today. But again, I'm encouraging you, download the PDF. If not for nothing else, I define all of these ideas on that PDF, and I give you guys a really amazing opportunity to take these back to your clients. So Sarah, why don't you start with the first one that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think a really important one is stay educated on trends and sustainability. Actually, we do have a question from the audience that is in line with this. How do I find green products in ESP? Definitely in ESP, there are ways to search keywords for eco-friendly products, sustainable products. The filters are really great. There's thousands and thousands of products in there to choose from. There's a lot. Companies are really getting smart about eco-friendly products. There's lots of options in there. Also, our coverage and editorial at asicentral.com/news. We're covering this constantly. We're always looking at the suppliers that are serving up eco-friendly items. So definitely check those out. But I would say, stay educated on trends, and that's not just product trends that you're selling to clients. That's an important part, but it's also how you can become a more sustainable business yourself. Reducing your waste, reducing energy usage, the emissions that you may give off as a company. Definitely ways that you can, as a company, as a team, benefit your local community. What can you do even on the weekends? What can you do as a team? It's great for morale building. It's great for team building, and it's also a way to benefit your own community and giving back and making that more sustainable. But yeah, definitely, I think key here is stay educated on the trends in sustainability, what's coming up, and how you can meet them.
Nice. The next one that I want to talk about is the second one on that list. It's about creating a philanthropic committee. And it's something that I had forgotten so much about, but we do it all the time. We at ASI, we actually have a committee that decides what we're going to work on as a company. And this is a great idea if you're a small company or a large company and you don't know where to get started. Ask for volunteers who want to pick out some projects that you can work on, form a small committee, and then start to work together. Groupthink always helps. It really helps to come up with creative ideas, and you'll help to be able to get the pulse of the company on where people are. Let's look at some other ideas.
And I just wanted to add, Jake, like it's
Sure.
it's even if you're like a landlocked in your landlocked state, we can't, ocean waste is a big deal, but we don't live near oceans. You can absolutely go to a body of water near you, a lake or a creek, or trust me, the bodies of water in states are full of their own waste. So even just having like an outing where you like, go on a Saturday morning early, clean it up, and then maybe take your group out to lunch after. I think that's a great idea. It builds team morale, and it also benefits the community and cleans it up.
I could not agree anymore. And again, and that goes wherever you are, there's always people that need help in your
Yep,
communities,
totally.
offering your time, offering to do things. So but I want to keep us on track here. We only have a few more minutes, and I love the make use of secondhand find tip that you're going to give.
Yeah, when you have an office, maybe you're expanding or you've moved or whatever, there's so much, each move is like, oh, well, we need brand new furniture to fill this place. Our old furniture doesn't really work for the space. And it's like right now, especially with the supply chain, you're going to be waiting a while for that furniture, most likely. There's a lot of different places near us. There's a place called Restore that's like secondhand furniture, some of it like almost new. And it benefits Habitat for Humanity when you buy it. So you can absolutely outfit your office with almost new furniture, and even the furniture that doesn't work for you anymore, you can donate that to a place like Restore so that another company can use it.
And think about all the cool things you can put into your office then that
Yep.
you find. It makes it really fun. You can also make it into where maybe you give a stipend to the employees and say you could spend this much to outfit your office.
Hmm.
Everything about it makes me smile. The other thing I want to point out here, and there's so many here to go through, and we only have a little bit of time left, is I love the idea of hosting a volunteer meet and greet event. This is so easy to do. We tend to bring in banks or service providers for our employees at ASI to kind of talk with and work with. But what if you were to bring in nonprofits to those nonprofits can then recruit from your employees to get help, or you bring in the United Way, or you bring in whoever you want in for an hour during the day to let people kind of talk to each other, and then your employees will get an idea of whether or not they want to help out. It's such an interesting thing. Hosting a little volunteer meet and greet, opening up your office really will go a long way. And again, All of these and a ton more are in our PDF. It's right below here. And that's our time for today. Sarah, this has been so much fun. If people have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're easy to find at ASI. And thank you all for your time.